Are you looking for company?
Yeah, exactly. I was telling one of my employees who came in here a minute ago, I said, I just got through eating a Popeye's chicken sandwich. I was like, for the first time in my entire life, I was expecting my whole life to change, and it did not. So I don't know why the internet broke over Popeye's chicken sandwiches, but they did.
You
It wasn't bad, but it didn't make my life amazing. So whatever.
well, you
Stacy?
are what you eat, right?
Yeah, exactly. Stacy, did you go outside and get some 65-degree weather while we were off the call? I can't hear you. You're not on mute. I just can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went outside in the balcony. We're gonna
Yeah.
go for a hike after the meeting today, so.
Yeah. Get involved with some chipmunks and things of that sort.
We saw a moose family earlier in the week, which was so cool. It was like the mom, the baby, and the dad with the big, rack of.
Yeah.
It
So
was
remind me again where you are.
We're staying in Copper, but we've been hiking all over. Like we went to Breckenridge and Silverthorne, Frisco. The day before yesterday, we went to Leadville.
Oh,
We did the
nice.
bike tour around all the the mining stuff there, which was really neat. Yeah, I think we're thinking when we retire, we want to spend the summers up here.
Yeah. It's nice.
We had a friend of mine who's got a condo at Breckenridge, lives in Denver. And that area is so beautiful.
Mhm.
The very first full-time job I ever had when I was 19 years old was I worked a summer in Estes Park, Colorado in the town.
Wow, that is one of my favorite summer destinations.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the winter skiing there, so from a like investment, because we could rent it out when we're not here.
Right.
So, but I love it.
Go up.
Beautiful.
My in-laws had a place in Estes, and then in the spring and wintertime in spring, we would go up there and stay at their house and then drive to Eldora, which is just north of Boulder, which is a pretty mini skiing destination, but it was good enough. I mean, I had free lodging. So I was in college. We would pack like a dozen people in a Suburban and head to Colorado, and stay at my in-laws' house. So it was a good time.
How long are you going to be there, Stacy?
We leave on Sunday, so we're just here this week.
Oh, nice.
It's just Derek and I this time though. So I told Mitch it was very different from our earlier in the summer vacation with all 3 kids. So this one's just Derek and I. So it's nice.
Yeah. One last thing I got to tell you, Stacy, about those trips of a dozen people in a Suburban headed to go skiing. It was a dozen engineers in the Suburban. It was actually like 10 industrial engineers and 2 mechanical engineers all in the Suburban. So you can imagine we had like the nerdiest conversations ever.
Fun times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's 1:30 and we've got people beginning to join back here. We'll give them another minute or two before we get started.
A dozen engineers in one Suburban. You guys had to be very, very skinny.
We had people laying across people. So we had like in the back, we had 3 people across the back and 1 person laying across their laps. And then we had in the middle seat, we had 4 people because you could fit 4 people. But in the front seat, there was, it was bucket seats. So we had 1 person in the driver's seat, me, because I was driving my dad's Suburban. And then we had 2 people sitting one on the lap of the other in the bucket seat. And then on the console, we had somebody sitting there. And we had 12 sets of skis mounted to this Suburban, all across the sides and all across the top. It was quite an event.
I would guess that a few people offered to drive so that you could sit on somebody's lap.
A different time it was back when I was 19 years old, I can tell you that.
Well,
Well, we'll get started. So we just got through with those committee reports: Treasury, nominating, membership, external visibility, financial support, career opportunities, and just a little pitch on Center of Excellence. And before we moved on to the next piece of this meeting, I just wanted to give everybody an opportunity to inquire about what they just heard in those committee meetings, see if there's any questions about the activity. I mean, that's really the core of what's going on in the TCA, is those committees and the activity that they're pushing along. And so I wanted to give a forum for questions and answers to that. We'll just play that by ear and see how long that takes. And if I have to cut it off, I have to cut it off. So with that, the stage is open.
Mitch, can I make a comment about the financial support?
Yes.
Tom, first of all, thank you for your presentation. I think it captured pretty much everything about fundraising. And if it's okay, I would like to share my experience with fundraising. Although we have John, who is a lot more experienced than I am with us, but a particular strategy worked really well for me, and I want to bring this to your attention if you would like to consider. Since I became dean, I was very particular about building relationship with the recruiters, especially when I worked with our foundation to dig information about who's recruiting from School of Engineering in my school, how many we have, where they are, how long they stayed with the company. That information was very useful, and I used that as a leverage to engage with their top recruitment people. And over the years, I built a really good relationship with these individuals and made a case for my school. And they became actually my advocates in these corporations. Intuitively, I think many of us think that the buck stops at the CEO or one of the top executives, but actually these individuals, recruitment people, are quite influential with the foundation people. So I was able to use their connection to basically have a hearing at their foundation to tell our story. And 2 instances, those resulted in over $1 million gifts. So this is something I think IEM can effectively use as well, especially there are certain companies consistently recruiting, and we have success stories with them that will be a tremendous help. And you will have a cheerleader, a team of cheerleaders basically within the corporation, bringing the school or the department to their foundation's attention.
That's tremendous observation, and probably saw me nodding my head that fundraising is all about relationships. And I think that people often think it's a lot about sending out a mailer and expecting people to respond to it, which is not the way it's going to happen. So what we need to do is walk before we run, but as part of the walking, identify when and how and in what context can we begin to develop relationships over time. And it may not result in something immediately, but if you're careful and choose carefully over time, it could lead to some great benefit. So I agree with you 100%. I'd love to have you join us on the committee if you're inclined to do it.
Like me to, I'll be happy to. I mean, once again, as compared to John, my experience is limited. I've been doing this for the last 4 years, but it was a learning experience for me.
All right, well, consider you on the committee, and I'll add you to the group. And congratulations, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And I look forward to taking advantage of that experience. That's all we have to bring to this journey is our experience, and collectively, if we move it in the right direction, I think we'll achieve something pretty spectacular.
Thank you. And I completely agree with you. I mean, one of these relationships, it took me 3 years.
Yep.
Another one took me about 2 years.
Yep.
But I was inviting them to all kinds of school events. I will show up in their company if they have any kind of event, just to be on their radar screen, if you will.
All right. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Other questions for the committee chairs?
Hey, Mitch, I'll make a quick comment for the career opportunities. So any of you that are in corporate America and hire our IE grads, if you want to proactively send me a note, I'll put my email address in the chat. Send me a note volunteering to do a webinar talking about what industrial engineers do within your company. That would be fantastic. So if you want to proactively contact me versus I'm in the process of reaching out to contacts from Sundaresh's list of companies that hire our IE grads, but I realize that some of you might, this might be something that you're passionate about and you want to volunteer to be on one of those webinars talking about your company and what IEs do. So definitely reach out to me if that's you.
Maybe I should do a little add-on to what Stacy just said, since I took over after Neil passed away on the graduate program. I would really like to have somebody who is a professional engineer, who is an industrial engineer, and has actually used their PE license on design activities or other things as a PE, as a licensed PE. Because we were going to have an entire session on professional licensure, but since there are fewer IEs that get the PE than there are, say, civil engineers or mechanical engineers. So I would, if any of you would volunteer to be one of the panel members, I would on the licensure per se, and I'll do the same as Stacy. I'll put my email address on chat.
Perfect. Other comments or questions about the committee reports or for the committee chairs? Well, one thing I'd like to ask is, now that we've kind of gone through, a big chunk of our agenda and we're kind of winding down into the last, hopefully, hour and a half or less of the time together. One thing I wanted to know is anybody inspired to say that they would either chair or co-chair the Center of Excellence group? I'm hoping that, my explanation of that had kind of helped this group understand what the Center of Excellence is trying to accomplish, and thinking that maybe someone might be interested in doing that. Radio silence. One of the things I thought I might share in that regard is a graphic that Tom put together for the Center of Excellence, trying to tie together industry, students, and the department, the different resources and ideas that each group brings and what we're trying to accomplish with that group. So again, I'd love for somebody to step out and say, hey, I'd love to chair it, or I'm not willing to be the only person, but I'm willing to participate in chairing this committee with someone else. I'd love for that.
So Mitch, if I might presume for a moment, I'm reminded that all universities, OSU being certainly one of them, have a large participation of companies in the activities of the schools. Sundaresh mentioned earlier about companies that are already involved in IEM. And so when you stop and pull back a little bit, you think about, are there the ingredients already in place to begin to do something even greater than maybe's been done before? First of all, we have some bright students who are eager to learn, have a lot of energy, are trying to be the state of the art in terms of what they know. We've got the school who has a lot of faculty and research capability and facilities. And we have companies that are in and around the campus. I mean, we only have to look at ConocoPhillips as one company that's integrated with Oklahoma State activities. So, you know, companies have issues, they have experience, and they, as importantly, they have funds. And there's some benefit to all three of those being able to work together on state-of-the-art solutions where companies have access to the students and the faculty, and the faculties have access to real-life experiences, and the students have the ability to learn and enrich their education. So the Center of Excellence is an opportunity, a moment in time to bring those three bodies that are already there, but I don't believe in all cases are functioning to the greatest level of productivity and effectiveness. And it's really a matter of bringing some organizational and innovative skills to bring those three organizations or groups together so that collectively we can do a lot more. And the end result is that IEM is able to receive some funds from these companies for the ability to have access to this research and student knowledge. And so I think there are benefits for everybody. It's just a matter of you know, getting it organized and having a vision of where you want to go.
Just to add to that, if I may, you know, we've got, I think Tom mentioned the ConocoPhillips initiative that they've funded, I think, which is directly helping us. And so is our relationship with WebCo. You know, that again has been a huge boost, I think both ways. They get some of our top students. We do design projects for them. But then there are 2 or 3 other things that are cooking that might be beneficial. And so this might be the right time, you know, for the TCA to serve as a catalyst to bring to fruition some of the, you know, activities that are kind of going, are taking place below the radar, so to speak. So one is the Tulsa Innovation Labs that I mentioned, but the Baker Hughes, I've not explored that in too much depth, but I need to, but just kind of having some brains to pick on from the TCA on how to accomplish that would be helpful. And then just added to that, there's one other, you know, zinc. There's a zinc challenge. They're going to set up a center for, what do they call it? Leadership, I think. Engineering South is getting renovated, and there's going to be a large center of for leadership. I think it's a $5 million gift or so from them. But what I'm getting at is that there's really, there's quite a few avenues that we could pursue to bring this to fruition in a shorter time period is my guess. But I also want to give a shout out to Tom for that excellent slide that kind of captures all elements of at least what, to me, what the Center of Excellence is in my mind. I think it's very well articulated and captured. Nice work, Tom, on that. Thank you for it.
Well, again, we're looking for leadership in this group. And one of the things we've tried to do is, in fact, one person had nominated Stacy to be the leader of this group. And I talked to Stacy about that in the last couple of days. But it kind of comes back to the same conversation that the board of directors / officers have been having in the last 2 or 3 months, which is we've got a membership of roughly 70 members now. We don't want just 6 or 8 people doing everything in the entire TCA. Stacy's been, the secretary and on the board for several years now. She's actively involved in the career opportunities group. It feels like inside baseball, and that we've only got a few people who are actively providing leadership inside the TCA. If we just continue to cycle that around, we made the decision after quite a bit of conversation and consternation with Bill, who just rolled out of the TCA president role into the marketing committee chair role. But we knew that was, again, we've got that same group of people providing leadership and direction. And that's just something we'd prefer to spread out so we'd have more perspective, more contribution of time and input and experience. And so I just ask for each of you to kind of dig down and see if providing some leadership for the Center of Excellence would be something that you might be willing to consider. And even if you aren't willing to say it out loud right now, you might shoot me an email. I already had one person send me an email and said, "Hey, I would love to be the chair of the Center of Excellence, but I happen to live in Finland." I don't know who that is. I'm kidding. But I get it. Living in Finland may cause you some challenges to lead a committee like that. But nonetheless, I'm really hoping each of you will consider providing some leadership in TCA in that way. We've already gotten one name via email who is willing to participate on the board. But I'm just going to continue to challenge everyone on this call to just get a little more involved if at all possible. So with that, I'm going to kind of share the screen here. The agenda, we're just running a few minutes behind. Again, my time will be shorter on the highlights of the board director activity. To provide oversight and direction to the committees. I mean, that has been the key function that the board has performed over the last year. We've actually had every other month, we have an executive committee meeting, which is the officers and Sundaresh. And then every other month on the alternative months, we actually have a full board meeting. And what we find ourselves spending the vast majority of our time talking about each time is the progress of each committee, making sure that the committee work is continued to be aligned with our SEP mission and vision, making sure that those committee leaders are empowered to make progress, whatever they need, whether it's money, resources, fight through any bureaucracy that we might be able to provide. Sundaresh and I actually probably have at least 2 phone call conversations a week trying to work through details of trying to move the ball forward on these types of things. And so that's part of what the board is there to do. And then regular alignment and coordination conversations with the college. We, as Sundaresh has become more and more well aware, this group does not hold back as far as their opinions and their thinking about what the college should be doing to